Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. It's Philly here from the Ending Body Burnout Show. Chris and I just had a really interesting conversation with Martin Pytela, who is a Canadian functional medicine practitioner. He specializes in metabolic typing. If you haven't heard of that before, we'll dive into all of it. But just as a recap, metabolic typing is based on your physiology, your biology, your genetics, and how you respond to food and the world around you. And often there can be even like behavioral or thought pattern type traits or skill sets connected to these metabolic types, which is really interesting. I remember years ago when Chris had a gym, I personally, I was the nutritionist in the gym. And I got into metabolic typing because people were asking for meal plans and they wanted to lose weight and the cookie cutter ones weren't working. So I started researching into the metabolism and metabolic typing, and it was really cool today to have a conversation with Martin to be, to have like a refresher and to really dig a lot deeper into metabolic type. So we do talk a lot about how you can identify your metabolic type, different diseases or conditions that are connected to the metabolic types when you're exposed to things that push your physiology in a dysfunctional way. We also dig into foods that you can eat to support metabolic types and also touch on lifestyle, stress, and trauma. So I think you'll really love this conversation. Martin is a wealth of knowledge. He does work in the space of chronic health, as we do. And when we start digging into, things that are unhealthy, just, listen to that. Obviously, we want to be educated with what's good for us and things that we know can be harmful, but with awareness. I don't think we need to go down rabbit holes of it's too scary to live in the world because there's so many toxins around. We do dig into that, but I just thought I'd do a little pre-frame that being aware, awesome, having choices, awesome, but also being exposed to certain foods or certain toxins, if you so choose to, or if you don't choose to, but it's just there. When you're healthy and well and you're deeply connected with yourself and intuitive and you're balanced, your body's so strong and capable and can move through things that might be toxic. So I thought I'd just add that little disclaimer there as well. Okay, so let's dive into today's episode. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one.
Welcome everybody to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are glad to have on the show today Martin Pytela from all the way over in Canada. We're over here in Tassie. Martin and I just had a chat about whereabouts he is, and it's a beautiful part of the world over where you are, Martin.
I like it.
What's the temperature at the moment there in Celsius?
+2, I think.
Oh wow, that would be Fahrenheit.
Oh, that's
there is snow on the ground. No, this is not Fahrenheit. This is Celsius.
Oh wow, okay,
that's beautiful.
That's
Fahrenheit, that'd be about 36.
Okay, yeah.
Now we're talking. Yeah, that's why I like it. I like it a lot.
Awesome. So, welcome. Thank you so much for coming onto our podcast. We we love talking to people across the world, but also people who have similar values, thought patterns, maybe even practicing similar things. So you're a functional medicine practitioner, and with our guests, we always like to just dive straight into the personal stuff. So we find that a lot of people who have become practitioners or therapists, coaches often have their own healing journey. It might be like a body burnout journey or some other type of healing journey. What did that look like for you? Like, what got you into what you now do around metabolic typing and functional medicine, which we'll get into a bit later?
Yeah, the timeline, it was 1977, 48 years ago now. I stepped into a dentist's office, freshly insured, and I said to him, I need a checkup. And they said, do you have health insurance? And I proudly, like an idiot, said, I do. And then they said, well, you will need some fillings after x-rays and whatnot. And they said, you have a choice. You can have those silver ones or the white ones. The white ones are extra. I said, is there any other difference? And they said, no.
Wow.
So I said, well, I don't care if they're silver or white. Go silver.
Wow.
Well, the story is that it's called silver mercury amalgam that I ended up. Mercury being the most toxic things that you can put inside of a human body. And 12 fillings later, I was on a dive.
That's a lot of feelings.
All my viral infections, my back went out, my periodontal disease showed up, I got allergies. I was so ill with my back that I would crawl from my rocking chair, face down on the footrest. My forehead rested so I could breathe from the gap. Anyway, that's where I slept, and I would roll off and crawl on all fours to the toilet, did my business, crawled back, like real lifestyle.
Wow.
Anyway, so that was the worst of it, but that was not every day. Like I would just have an episode that would last like 3 weeks or something like that, and then I would put myself back together and live. But
Yeah.
And it took me about 10 years of trying, and I tried every stupid thing. I first went to the surgeon, orthopedic surgeon. I had plantar fasciitis. That's when I saw the surgeon. I had carpal tunnel syndrome. My back was all out, and so on. Anyway, I saw the surgeon. Then I discovered chiropractics. They helped a lot, but they would just put me back together. And then soon enough, I was out again. Then I discovered naturopathy that was helping with the allergies, but not well. I remember talking to a doctor, and he said, well, we have Sudafed. And I said, full of hope, will that heal me? And he said, no, you'll take that for the rest of your life.
Wow.
So I think about 10 years in, I had this moment with myself, the rock bottom. And I decided that I was going to use my skills. I actually have education in business administration and computer science. I'm actually an analyst by trade. And so it was analyze this. So I did, and I don't know what, probably 3,000 hours later, I was very clear about Western medicine is completely hopeless because they do not practice anything useful. They only mess around with symptoms. They never ask the basic question, what is the cause here? And the second thing was, I understood what caused it. It was the heavy metal poisoning.
Yeah. How did you get to that realization? Like, was that with starting with lab tests or?
I read a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It leaves behind breadcrumbs. You find out. Eventually, you'll figure it out. I did. Early in, I think it was like month 2 or 3, I had a hair analysis test done. And I remember it came back, and I looked at it and I thought, mercury, high mercury. How did I get high mercury? Did I eat a lot of fish? I don't think I did. Never connecting the amalgams.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And then it was like, bing.
So what did it look like for you to heal from that? Did you get the fillings removed and detox or?
No, I did the detoxing. I went into blue-green algae and chlorella, and then I discovered zeolite, clinoptilolite. That was the major move. That really made a big difference. And then amino acids to repair the damage. And by that time, I was a health nut by then. I was, I don't know what all the stories would be. We were experimenting with all raw diet and all vegetarian diet and all kinds of stuff. We did all kinds of tryouts. In the end, some years later, I became a metabolic typing advisor, which is you wouldn't call it a diploma. It's a certificate that helps me know how genetics and food intersect.
Yeah, cool.
That really made a big difference.
Awesome. Let's dive in there, because metabolic typing is sort of like your speciality space. So for the listeners who might not have heard of that term or what it actually is, can you explain in a nutshell what metabolic typing actually is?
It's actually not well known, and I think it's, again, laziness in the therapeutic community. It tells you that biological individuality has the upper hand in how we react. In India, they had something called the doshas, vata, pitta, kapha, different reactions. In Chinese medicine, they have the 5 elements. Again, they sort people out on being dominant in this or that. And even in the Western, they have these dominances where you have the ectomorph, mesomorph, and I don't know what the third one is. And
endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph. I think there's 3, isn't there?
Yeah, there are 3. Yeah. Well, in the metabolic typing, what you'll discover is 2 things: your endocrine dominance, which is most related to the ectomeso endomorph. And I'll talk about that in a moment. It primarily drives your body shape, how you'll gain weight, what foods you'll be tempted by, and just the general fitness and what your proclivities will be. Like, will you be good at this or that? That's the endocrine dominances. But the other one, the metabolic dominance, we have 2 types: an oxidizer dominant and an autonomic dominant. And that's how we convert food into energy. And the oxidizer is alkalized by fats and proteins and acidified by starches. And the autonomic is the other way around: alkalized by carbs and acidified by fats and proteins. And if you dive into literature, back when, naturopathic and the likes, most books are written for the autonomic. They will say proteins are acidic and carrot juice is alkaline. Well, that holds true for the autonomic, but it's completely not true for the oxidizer dominant.
Which makes a lot of, I was just going to say, which makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of diets out there. So keto, for example, would fit within one of those metabolic types. It's like, so Absolutely. That's why some people who do keto get great results and they feel amazing. And then other people are like exhausted, sluggish. It's essentially, not all.
To explain, okay, let's illustrate. So the alkalinity starts with procrastination. More alkalinity gets you despondence, laziness, unwillingness to do, and really far in, you'll get into depression. Just dark depression. I'm not getting out of bed. I'm not getting out. So these people are fairly jovial, friendly, artsy, very nice to be around, but not great accomplishments. They're more about being rather than doing. The acidic side, it starts with impatience, wakes up early rather than late, ready to go, eyes wide open and running. And if you get more acidic, you start being abrasive, lack of social graces, interrupting others, cutting in traffic, get ahead, elbows, just get out of my way, I'll get it done myself. And then if you get it farther out, you get rage. That's if it's externally expressed. Outward pushed, that's road rage would be a perfect example of that.
Mm.
And if it's inward directed, you end up with anxiety.
Mm.
You will process your future or your past. If you're processing your past, it's I should have not done this, I shouldn't have done that, just reliving and recriminalizing yourself for being stupid and this and that. And then if it's forward directed, then of course you're just catastrophizing your future. Just if this, then that,
Mm.
if I shouldn't go there because it may be dangerous, just anxiety.
Mm.
And specifically, so we have this autonomic nervous system, and it has two branches, the sympathetic, parasympathetic. And in the sympathetic, you're in the fight or flight mode. In the parasympathetic, you're in the rest, repair, and digest. And that means that you're alkaline in the parasympathetic, you're acidic in the sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Flexibility is great. Lack of flexibility leads to trouble.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah, okay. So you want a balance of the two.
You want to be somewhere in the middle where you have the most choices. Because if you're stuck in high acidity, all you are is just trembling with fear or raging at the world. I don't know, something of the sort.
And is this like, I'm just like, oh, this is interesting with the patterns. And if you're too alkaline or too acidic, what's happening at a physiological level? I like the way that you're describing that. I think about the polyvagal theory, and you can either be sympathetic, and that's kind of like that anxious, more acidic type pattern,
Yeah.
or then
Calcium.
and then the alkaline. So if too alkaline, like if it got too out of whack, then it's depression and kind of shut down.
Yeah. So the numbers, right? On the scale itself, the 7.0 is the midpoint, but for us humans, the midpoint is really 7.35 or negative 25 millivolt on the volt scale. Slightly alkaline. That's our midpoint. So if you push further out, you'll end up in the overly alkaline, and you will have certain illnesses associated with that. Like, for example, you can get leukemia or lymphoma out in over alkaline. Whereas if you're over acidic, you'll end up with tumors like breast cancer or colon cancer or the closed tumors rather than the fluids.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to get into the food, but before we do that, because people are probably like, oh, well, how do I know if I'm too acidic or too alkaline, or what type of metabolic type am I? Like, how can people or listeners determine where they're sitting?
Well, it becomes obvious about 40 to 60 minutes after you eat a meal, which way it took you. Like, for example, if you take some flax crackers with a bunch of bacon grease on top of it, you're giving yourself a fat push. If you, on the other hand, have 3 shots of whiskey, you're giving yourself an carbo push. You can do it with bananas, you can do it with porridge, you can do that with just, I don't know, a potato, bowl of rice. But if you put some grease on the bowl of rice, then you're now pushing in the opposite, right? So we have rice and butter, mix one of each. Doesn't push either way. So depending on which type you are, you need to figure out what you need more of to stay balanced. I think the best one would be to just go and watch a cocktail party where alcohol and carby snacks are served, where all of a sudden you have the oxidizers are getting louder, and then they start getting argumentative, and then they get into each other's face, and if they keep on going, they'll actually go physical. They will have a punch-out fight.
Yeah.
The people that are autonomic, they will start with being very friendly, very jovial, just looser, and then they start oversharing, telling too much, and then they start getting emotional about it, start crying, and then they fall asleep.
Yeah. I'm just pulling up the picture of ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph.
Okay.
So we actually, like in the past, we had a fitness business and a gym. And so I remember back in the day, I'm like, oh yeah, like metabolic type, and how can we eat to support our metabolic type? So I'm the middle person. I'm the mesomorph. Which also means that I actually find that, I mean, if my macronutrients are balanced, I feel great. But also
Yeah.
I can eat high protein, high fat, and I can also
Okay.
swing the other way too. And I generally feel pretty balanced if my nervous system is balanced.
Right on. Okay. And so then we have some people who are more stable and some people who are less stable. So if you stand like a sumo wrestler, it will be hard to knock you out of balance. Whereas if you stand on one foot, eyes closed, it won't take much to push you over. Some people are really stable and it takes a lot. They have a very wide range in which they operate. Others are further out in the margins and have much less wiggle room in one direction. So to say, if you are a fast oxidizer, you're waking up quite acidic early in the morning, and your tendency toward anxiety or towards impatience is high. So you need to now find a way to balance it. If you take something that's fats and proteins, like an omelet with this piece of, I don't know, sausage or something like that, you'll be fine. You just put yourself to the middle and nothing bad happens. If you open with a bowl of cereal, you'll be a raging, no, I was going to use an
Dragon
expletive.
mum.
Yeah, okay, yeah, like that.
Okay.
But what I wanted to say, once you started talking about the ectomorph or whatever, the endocrine dominances are, in our language, thyroid, adrenal, pituitary, and women have one specialty, and that's called ovarian. And the thyroid dominance, I'm an example of that, is slender wrists, slender ankles, like you can see the ankles are skinny. If they start putting weight on, it's on their belly and hips. If they're tempted by any one thing, it would be starchy. That's a classic thyroid type. All the Victoria's Secret models are the thyroid types.
They're
Everyone.
kind of like the tall, skinny, lanky, leggy. Yeah.
Now, the adrenal type, well, maybe I'll finish one more thing. And their best diet has some protein with every meal. And the 3 meals should be about equal size. They should eat a breakfast. They should eat a lunch and a dinner. They should not be large, and they should be well balanced. The adrenal type is built like a linebacker, like a rugby player, stocky, strong, with phenomenal stamina. Weightlifters.
Is that you, Chris?
Gymnasts.
No.
Not naturally. I'm more of a ecto meso, like kind of an in
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Chris, and you're about a midpoint between thyroid and adrenal. You can swing either. But you're the strong type rather than the weak type. Like, look at me. I'm just, I'm not nearly as strong.
You're
as
the
you
Victoria's Secret model. Is that what you said? Victoria's Secret model?
I didn't make the cut. Martin makes it to the next call, and I'm like, thank you for coming.
Damn.
But, sorry, Chris.
We will use you for lifting all the heavy objects into the trucks.
You can carry the lights and the cameras.
You can
we
be
will
the
let
helper.
you carry our baggage. But it's the weightlifters. No, and when they start adding weight on, it's all over, like deep chest, massive shoulders, easy to put bulk on. Like for me, putting muscle on is a lot of effort. It's not easy for a thyroid to gain muscle mass. The more adrenal you are, the easier it is to bulk out.
Okay.
The temptation foods are savory, not sweet, not starchy. And their slimming diet is low fat. So a keto diet you mentioned is a weight gain diet for adrenal. It's a weight loss diet for a thyroid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and the third one that's really reasonably popular is called pituitary, and those people are tempted by creamy things, yogurts, whipping creams, some sweets, but they tend to be the intellectual of the crowd.
I'm like smiling as you're saying that. So I think I'm a pituitary because I'm like, chocolate. Yum, yum, yum.
No, no chocolate.
Creamy chocolate? Or like, you mean
No,
like
no,
cream?
I want you craving yogurts. I want you craving
No, my
a,
chocolate's good. It's like cacao, coconut oil, pure maple syrup, a little dash of it.
I want you craving mousse.
Avocado mousse. Yep.
Okay. All right. So there's a good chance that you have a good chunk of that.
Yeah.
Now, the body type, the head is larger than you would expect, tend to be strong intellectually,
I am strong
uh,
intellectually.
tend to have fat distribution that's even, like both legs and body and everything, trunk. The fat is all over evenly. And in extreme, if you start putting weight on, you start looking like a Cabbage Patch doll.
Ooh.
That's
Not
that's
that-
it.
Yeah, I think I'm more
Pre- pre-
pituitary.
Pre-marriage.
Except for I don't think I've got a big head. But maybe I do compared to the rest of my body.
Sure. Well, by looking at the part of you that I see, I would have put you as a thyroid,
Oh, yeah, right.
but
Okay.
but thyroid pituitary.
Yeah, I think I'm a mix of both of those because I'm not
Oh
the
yeah,
classic.
they never are even, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a Venn diagram, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
push into whatever, you're somewhere on the scale.
Mm.
Anyway, the health food for a pituitary are organ meats. The more purine, the better. So tongue, heart, kidney, liver. Um, well, that's the health
Brains.
food, right? So
Yeah.
if ever you want to go skinny, you would want to push that over the creamy and carby things.
Why are you looking at me, Chris? Chris is just like, are you trying to like see my response around the organ meats?
I'm examining. I'm seeing into you
I'm seeing
because
into
I see you're
see.
more of a meso-endomorphic, and I'm more of like the ecto-meso. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think either of us fit like all in that Venn like you were talking about, Martin. But we are.
Well, the
sitting on
two of
fringes.
you would do well eating salads, and yeah, Chris would eat it with a piece of fish or chicken, and Philly would probably have a steak.
A steak with a little bit of kidney inside.
That really resonates because I think if I eat steak, I can't stick to that for a long time.
Yeah, it's too rich. It's too rich for a thyroid. Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, cool.
okay it's too rich for the thyroid. So the adrenal can handle coffee, no problem.
Mm.
Thyroid cannot. Stimulation is too. You can handle chocolate, but you cannot handle coffee straight. Whereas the adrenal, no big deal. Yeah, 2 cups in the morning. Also, the adrenal likes to eat no breakfast, small lunch, or big dinner. The pituitary is the other way. Big breakfast, middle lunch, no dinner.
That resonates. I feel good with get a little bit of my day up and running, and then have a late breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah, don't eat for a long while, really.
Mm.
Right? Yeah, the more adrenal you are, the less you feel like eating in the first half of the day.
And what about?
The more,
Sorry, did you say what in terms of meal timing for thyroid?
I didn't understand that.
Meal timings for thyroid. So,
The thyroid types?
yeah, is that like big breakfast or
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, equal size.
okay?
Protein with the
Yeah, because that's definitely like I'm very just like so rhythmic with the amount of food I eat and when I eat. Like within the 30-minute mark, I will be eating. Not every 30 minutes. It's kind of like if it's out of a 30-minute window, it's like, I need some food. But also like it's quite in terms of the amount.
Okay, so to explain, right? The thyroid gland is more the twitchy muscle, the short term, the sprinter, the quicker one. Whereas the adrenal is more the, push hard, long runs, long sprints. The pituitary, on the other hand, is the long distance runner, the ultimate of hunters. Like the pygmies of Africa are mostly pituitary.
Right.
They're little, but they are pituitary dominant.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
So
interesting.
there we have it. So we have preferences, and we have some ways that we will gain weight and lose weight. And when we know which we are, then we can actually not hesitate about what is going to happen with us based on that. So let's just say that I'm a 37-year-old mother of two, and I still have that belly fat on my tummy. Well, the only quick way to do that as a thyroid type is to go keto.
To lose the fat belly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And drink raspberry leaf tea. Red raspberry leaf tea.
Why is that? What's the therapeutic effect with that?
It's got the hormonal kick that helps to clear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's too much cortisol, right? Like if you really want to crutch, we make this awesome tincture called cortisol ease. You start taking that and the fat goes away.
That's
Because
cool.
it's too much cortisol that's not being burnt off.
Yeah. 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 What about actually I know I asked this question earlier, but just I'm in my head I'm just like trying to like process this. So someone can work out their metabolic type both on their body shape, in the way that you explain that, and that's sort of like how I determined that in the past. But then in terms of food, so because you mentioned earlier you can challenge to see to identify your metabolic type based on foods as well.
So let's talk about the genetic lottery. Because here now we have the endocrine dominance, which dictates how we gain weight, lose weight, how we desire food, don't desire food. And we have the how we alkalize and acidify. Those are the two opposing vectors. So for example, myself, I'm a sympathetic dominant autonomic, meaning I wake up early. I'm fairly acidic. I tend to be quick, but I tend to be argumentative and contrarian. And so I need to moderate that with carbs. However, carbs are my gain food. So I need to find the middle of pleasant, but not gaining weight. I need to find the middle. So I didn't win it, right? Like you have a fast oxidizer thyroid will eat endless amount of high fat steak stuff, never gain an ounce and be happy.
Yeah.
If you end up with a parasympathetic alcoholic, they will drink themselves to depression and death, suicide.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Right? A slow oxidizer needs carby things to break out of their laziness. Strange, right? So you offer them a grapefruit to start their day and a carrot juice to keep them going, and the salad for lunch will have a fair amount of rice and a piece of meat to it. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Like you need to find ways to do it. And then, of course, then we have all the genetic stuff that happens. What should we say about that? Some of us are okay with oxalates. Some of us are not. Some are okay with salicylates. Some are not. So the more broken your gut is, the more stuff you will be allergic to or intolerant of. If you're blood type O, probably don't use dairy and grains. That's just not your thing. If you're blood type B, probably leave pork alone and maybe shrimp as well.
So my thought is like there's so many different interplays of what's going on for the person, and also things I have seen like or experienced personally for me, things can shift and change the healthier your body is functioning as well. I'm imagining there might be some listeners who are like, oh my gosh, now I have to think about my blood type and like, am I a mesomorph? Am I like, there's so many things. Like, how do I practically learn to eat in a way that's going to support myself?
So easy. Oh, Philly, it's so easy. Experiment. Do something for a week.
Yeah.
Gaining weight, stop it and do the opposite.
Yeah. So really it's like it's starting with a guide, understanding your metabolic type, your biology. These are general recommendations of what might support this type of person or this type of physiology. Now your job is to become connected with your body and your cues and learn to eat in a way that's actually going to serve you in this season in your life. Yeah.
Right. Let me start with the 5 nevers. Never eat refined flour, refined sugar, refined salt, refined plant seed oils, and pasteurized cow dairy, maybe homogenized cow dairy. Those are just, don't touch it.
I do sometimes and it's okay. It's a sometimes
Sure.
food.
Yeah, you betcha. Go out, have a mascarpone, have a tiramisu, whatever the heck you want. Do it.
And then lovingly see how you feel. Like honestly though, I feel like the more balanced my body is, I can actually have those sometimes, like those never foods occasionally, sometimes. And if the environment is right, totally fine. Like, you know, maybe if I wanted to get really analytical, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm probably like a little bit, tiny bit inflamed. But you know, if I was eating that every day, I would be back in body burnout for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this. I lost my oral tolerance for wheat when I was 55. So you have ways to go.
40.
Yeah, well, that's ways to go. At 40, I could enjoy pizza, no worries. Especially North American wheat is horrendous because it has been selectively bred to be higher protein content. That's gluten. That's worse. And these days they grow it with glyphosate, Roundup. That's a horrible thing that breaks the microbiome in your gut. I think the weaker your microbiome, the likelier the chance of you being dysregulated and unwell and inflamed. Because if you drink chlorinated water, the chlorine's there to kill microbes. Well, before it reaches you, you're killing the bad microbes. But when it reaches your gut, it kills everything. Good ones, bad ones, all of it. That's a bad idea. Do not drink chlorinated water. And do not eat food that has been raised with the help of glyphosate. In America, that's definitely wheat, corn, lentils, and chickpeas. You have to go organic or forget about it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're living in Italy, you can eat all of the pasta you want because they're growing it without the help of all these crazy things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate. I totally agree and know, and yeah, I'm on board with that. The reason why I'm just like, you know what, like if your body's healthy and well and you're in tune with yourself, you don't have to be fearful of being in the world. Like have knowledge and know that like our wheat has been, you know, genetically modified and Roundup and toxic stuff. But you know what, if you're at a social event, you want a piece of pizza, your body's strong.
Well, if it is. And
yeah. Like if you're balanced and well. Yeah.
And then there are, you see, in my practice, they call me when they're broken. I deal with the broken ones. And so that's my perspective. That's my filter. I'm just saying, do the right thing most of the time rather than some of the time.
Yeah. What about lifestyle factors? Things like sleep, movement, they're probably two big ones. Stress.
My mnemonic aids, which is toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma, all of which are toxicity is industrial age stuff that's in your environment and in your body that should not be there. It's blocking normal expression of your homeostatic system. So toxins have to come out and not come in. Malnutrition, we talked about that quite a bit, but it's nutrient-rich, calorie-poor foods, the opposite of pizza. And then 3, stagnation. That's probably your happy note, where we are supposed to exercise ourselves to the point of panting twice a day. Like we need to be gasping for breath at least twice a day. So if you do it in interval training, probably a good thing, right? Interval training is great for the thyroid types. That's great for everyone, really.
Yeah. What about movement and the endocrine types? Like, is there different types of movement that one's metabolic type would respond better to?
Well, the thyroid makes a sprinter, a volleyball player, a basketball player. The adrenal makes a rugby player, makes a weightlifter, the strong disciplines, all the Scottish Highland games. That's all adrenal types. And then the pituitary are endurance events. So they would be the long distance runner. They would be just lasting longer than anyone.
Yeah.
So that's the sports side.
Yeah. So that's kind of like maybe naturally what they might be better at.
Yeah.
Perform better at.
30 minutes of walking and your constipation is gone. Right? And that's probably somewhere near the 7,000 to 12,000 steps a day. That's the right number for maintaining the lymphatic pump going. Remember, there's no pump. There's only gravity. So as you move the body up and down against gravity, the fluids are traveling upward. And just here under your clavicles is where you have the waterfall, so to speak, where the lymphatic connects into the bloodstream. Once it's in the bloodstream, it's transported to the liver and the kidneys and filtration. But until then, it's just traveling up through the lymphatic system, through the nodes, and it's waiting in the lymph nodes for the immune system to interact with it and trying to kill off the things that shouldn't be there and stuff like that. And then, of course, if you want, you should be pumping, as in like pumping these vessels, they over here, just push on them in the groins. I can't show that on camera easily, but just move those things.
Neck.
Knees,
behind knees. Yeah,
behind the knees. Yes, important. And so skin brushing, dry skin brushing, or lymphatic massage. Those are awesome things that everyone should consider.
There is a connection there too. So if your lymphatic system is clogged up, not working very well, body's more acidic. Is that correct? Or what do you see? Or it could go either way.
It could be either way.
Yeah.
You could be stagnant. Stagnation is a bad idea because, of course, now you're swampy. If you're stagnant, your feet are going to stink and your crotch is going to be smelly. Because you are now rotting while standing or sitting. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, dogs will love you.
Dogs will love you. Next time a stinky teenager is, I'm like, you're rotting inside. Go have a shower. Actually, and while you're there, do some lymphatic movement.
Have some lymphatic movement and do a whole bunch of sessions in your sauna.
Yeah.
Or South European.
Yep. Just got a sauna for Christmas. So good.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people who experience chronic pain, joint pain, arthritic stuff, they get a sauna and 20 sessions later, they say, oh my gosh, I can move. I hurt not.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good for so many different things. Question around, so a lot of our listeners, Ending Body Burnout show. So a lot of people who may be listening, may be running these burnout patterns that show up as busyness, overdoing, perfectionism, people pleasing, stress, overwhelm, which then if it's going long enough, drop down into that functional freeze. So how do you see a connection with that in terms of how it might push someone's physiology in the scope of metabolic typing?
Yeah, right. Well, okay. So the HPA axis, that's hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenals, and also HPT from the pituitary to the thyroid, it drives the outcomes, the hormonal levels, how you cope. The steroidal hormones, are they regulated, dysregulated? Are you too much estrogen, not enough progesterone as a woman? Are you lacking testosterone? as a woman, as a man? Which way is it, right? Is there too much plastic in your world, and are you over estrogenizing yourself? Is there too much whole seeds? For example, whole seeds, if you make almond milk, rice milk, oat milk, those kind of things, they are made from whole seed. And the seed, until sprouted or until at least soaked, has this phytoestrogenic protection on it. So when you drink those concentrates, you're pushing phytoestrogen in your body. So for men, you will be putting on weight and growing breasts and losing your testicles. For women, you'll be less peaceful and prone to acne and liver issues, right? So you may need to undo the plastics and undo the seeds, and I don't know. It's getting somewhat into the details, but perhaps it's relevant. Again, I'm talking about all the gotchas living in a dangerous world. Well, when you eliminate those things from your world, it stops being dangerous. So I had to teach myself to not see bakeries. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, if you leave me alone with a half a cake, I'll eat the thing. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
it just is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have
I
anything?
don't bring it home.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I wanted to mention, let's just dive out, which was trauma. That's on the list of 4 horrible things that cause illness. And trauma is something that is either one time big deal or drip, drip, drip. But you can get into cortisol dysregulation. And when you do, then you have problems sleeping, you have problems dealing with body weight, especially belly fat, blood glucose, right? That's one of the biggest thing with cortisol is the blood glucose levels.
Yep. Yeah. I'm thinking of an old client who had diabetes, but she was very allergic to a lot of things, so she couldn't have medication. It would actually make her eyes bleed. So the only way she had to control the diabetes was naturally, and she lost heaps of weight. She was eating healthy, but stress levels through the roof and so much unprocessed trauma. And so, yeah, her levels hadn't budged until.
Yeah. I had recently had a client who was on a continuous glucose monitor because she was pre-diabetic. And she bought the cortisol ease tincture that we make. And she said, you take a dropper full of this thing and you can watch on the glucometer how the glucose level is coming down, how the insulin level is coming down. It's just phenomenally effective. And she said, effortlessly lost all the belly fat. Thank you.
Thank you, drops. What's inside the tincture? I'm curious. Or is it like a secret ingredient?
It's about 10 ingredients, but rhodiola and ashwagandha are the main players and a few others. Did I look it up?
What was that? You can look it up, yeah. Like, do you mean adaptogenic herbs?
I mean, I can tell you what's in it, except I don't remember it off the top of my head. And so I'm just looking it up here on my other screen. So forgive me while I'm looking.
Oh, good.
Okay, here goes. It is rhodiola, cedar berries, juniper berries, hawthorn berries, black cohosh, blue vervain, plantain, ginger root, and lobelia.
Nice.
That's the mix.
Yep.
Anyway, it's supremely effective. We have used it on veterans coming in because they have PTSD, they have dysregulated cortisol regime. Takes it away. Super effective for people who like to do something hyperactive late into the night, like game players or students. We give them that, and it just within 20 minutes, they're gone out.
Yep. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. We've covered heaps of different things. It's been very interesting. I've learned some things about my body too. So thank you.
How can people get in touch with you, Martin? And how can they
Well, the
find out
website-
more about you?
Yeah, the website is called Life Enthusiast, life- enthusiast.com. And we have a channel on YouTube as Life and Co. and on Telegram and on Rumble. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, awesome. And I think you've got a pain manifesto guide as well. Can you talk into that? Yeah.
That's a free giveaway tool that we have on our website. It's a report. It sort of chronicles my journey, explains all the way. The pain manifesto was, look at this ginormous problem all around you, all the different things that you will hear about. And yet there's a path through it that's fairly easy.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's the heal your gut. When you heal your gut, you decrease your inflammatory, the chronic inflammation that may be in your body. When that goes away, pain level goes down. And well, everything we just covered, exercise, trauma, food, toxins, all of that needs to be handled.
Yeah.
I so often get people ask me, so what's the most important thing I need to do?
A holistic
say, well,
approach.
And I say back, name the most important wheel on your car.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's all important.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right. Thank you so much. It was so good to talk.
Yeah. Glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.